Hi everyone, it's Fiona Edgar here, and this is an astrology update about the full supermoon in Sagittarius that we have tomorrow. So I'm going to go over the astrology of the supermoon, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how it affects the individual sign. So please do watch your rising sign and your sun sign and your moon sign, especially if you were born at night, because you'll resonate with that more strongly. So just before I get started and all of that, there is something that I did want to talk about. So we're actually in the Kali Yuga, which is known as the Age of Darkness. Now, this is relevant because this has been coming into my mind all week. And I know that kind of people need to hear about this stuff, but the yugas are basically cycles that the earth goes through, right? So right now we are in the Kali Yuga, which is the Age of Darkness. Now, there's a lot of arguments over, oh, when is the Kali Yuga end, blah, blah, blah. No one seems to know for sure. I personally believe that we have another 200 years of the Kali Yuga. What happens after the Kali Yuga? There's said to be a figure that comes, whether it is an individual or a whole movement of people. But his name in the Vedic traditions, his name is Kalki, and he is said to ride a white horse. Now, he has got tired of everything just being messed up and life is horrible and everyone is suffering. So he ends the Kali Yuga with a great big war. Then humanity is said to move into the next yuga, which is the Satya Yuga, which is said to be the golden age, where we're living in harmony with nature. Everyone is fulfilled and happy because we're living in a kind of tribal. Our sense of existence is tribal and quite small. We move away entirely from the globalism, which is destroying everything. So I wanted to say that things are not going to get better in our lifetimes. Now, don't be upset or go and do anything stupid or think. You have a job to do. Your job is to preserve knowledge, to have descendants that you can pass this knowledge on to. So the Age of Darkness is a horrible time to be alive. Like, quite honestly, I've cried over this. Because if you look inside yourself, the memory of your blood, which is the strongest memory of all, because it contains all of the memory of your ancestors. You look at the world around you and you just realize how unnatural it is. Everyone is miserable. We're all slaves to these big banking people. Little children are, there's a lot of things I can't say here because I'm on YouTube, but you will understand what I'm talking about. People are possessed and questioning the very bodies that they live in, questioning nature, abusing animals, abusing people, abusing each other. They've turned away from the gods. The Christianity, Abrahamism, and also atheism are all products of the Kali Yuga, which is the Age of Darkness. So the real spirituality comes from your ancestral gods and the path of nature that humans walked for a long time before anyone had heard any of this other nonsense. So you wake up in the morning and you just realize how bad things are and unnatural. You talk into your stupid little phone instead of spending time with people. You should work like a slave. And you still don't own your own home. The food is toxic. They tried to force everything upon us. We have no freedoms left. But you do have a certain amount of freedom with how you deal with this and how you think of this. You must simply start to see this as a season that humanity must move through. Just as every year we go through winter time. What happens in winter? It gets dark all the time. There's hardly any sunlight. There's no, fruit on the trees. All the vegetation is dead. This is what we are going through in the Kali Yuga, especially towards the end when it becomes a lot more intense. So you must know that some part of you is going to survive this and carry on into the golden age. We will experience the golden age. We are reincarnated as our own ancestors, right? That's why it's important to have children. So your descendants and your soul is going to experience the golden age. I know it's not much comfort when there's like all of this madness going on. And of course, I don't live in the Ukraine. I'm not being bombed, or not this time anyway. But you have to understand that just it is like our existence right now is suffering. We are suffering because that blood memory that you have remembers the way that we should be living. And that is in small tribes, in harmony with nature, doing natural things. Of course, there's an element of suffering in that too, but it's not unnatural the way things are, and all of this artificial intelligence and the promotion of things that just make you endlessly unhappy. There's no true information left anymore. If you look at something and it's a popular idea or belief, it's likely that the opposite is true. But you can still experience joy in your life. You can have joy from looking at the faces of your children when they're all covered in muck and they've just been in the garden. But you have love and you have joy and you have nature. And most importantly, you have your spiritual path, the path of your ancestors, not on any of these false belief systems that are totally unnatural and chaotic and based on just lies and darkness. So you know the ones that I'm talking about. And atheism is just as bad. If you're an atheist, you're saying that you don't believe in yourself, that you don't exist. But anyways, I just wanted to tell you that things are not really going to get better in our lifetimes, but you can find a way. You can find ways to be happy. The earth has gone through this Kali Yuga before. When I was a child, I remember thinking, I don't know where I got these thoughts from, but the earth has been through many cycles where things were wiped out completely and then it started again, right? Things got so bad with their awful technology, their unnatural existence, losing value in the things that matter, promoting degeneracy and just everything that you can think of, that there is a reset button that is pushed by nature or the gods, whatever way you want to see it, and it's wiped out and we start again. I don't believe the official timeline that we've been given. I don't believe in evolution or any of those things, but we've been through it before and we will get through it again. Okay, so I guess this is fitting for the full moon in Sagittarius. When you look into the future, there is something bright at the end of the tunnel. Okay, it's not coming anytime soon, but your life is a tiny speck of sand on a huge beach. This life is only the blink of an eye. It really is. So we have to put things into perspective. We become such a narcissistic world. You know, everything's on instant gratification and, you know, things must get better because I'm so important. Well, they will, but before they get better, we have to get through this clearing process, which isn't pretty because we're going through winter. Things end, things die, but we will get through it again. So kind of like what I'm saying is we need to man up. Now, a rune that I've worked with that is really helpful for just instilling that courage in you. You become fearless, okay, is algaes. You can look that up, but working with it, you can print it off. You can put it beside your bed and just stare at it at night. You can do rune yoga where you put the shape of your body into algaes and you kind of like say or sing the name. That's one that I do every night, but it does help. Okay, so let's get back to the full moon. Now, this full moon, of course, makes emotions more heightened. Because this is a super full moon, people are going to be emotionally over the top, maybe jumping to the wrong conclusions because the sun is in Gemini. Mercury is still in its shadow until the 18th. Now, with the moon in Sagittarius, it is an optimistic moon. It's full of joy. It makes you think about travel. It makes you think, okay, things are quite bad now, but in the future, we too, again, will be happy and prosperous and abundant and fulfilled. So during this full moon, you will think of ways to make yourself happy. Now, you may travel if you're still able to do so. You could really look at do some spiritual study, research, study astrology, study polytheism, whatever it is that makes you happy. But you're kind of going to be firing on all guns here. You'll be ready for an adventure. There is a lot of restless energy here with this full moon because the sun is in Gemini opposite the moon in Sagittarius. It's a lot of mutable energy. You may be a little bit ADHD. I'm off for the next couple of weeks. So I'm looking for an adventure, but also a lot of rest and reading and studying and just catching up on things that I haven't been doing for a while. Now, the thing about this full moon is that it is square Neptune, okay? This may cause a lot of tiredness. It could cause fatigue within your body. So don't take on too much too soon. Make sure you take some rest. Your dreams may be heightened. There may be a lot of confusion about a certain situation in your life. But Neptune also brings some good feelings in that you can feel very connected to other people. You could also be feeling very connected to the spirit world. So yeah, so that is a bit tricky with that kind of square there. Now, the other thing, there's a good aspect from Saturn, good old Saturn. I love Saturn. I was born on the day of Saturn and the hour of Saturn. I have a very strong Saturn in my birth chart. It rules my south node and my midheaven, and it does all kinds of other things. But Saturn is about maturity, responsibility. This really helps to kind of ground the kind of frantic, explosive, all over the place energy of the mutable signs. Saturn is about making wise decisions. It is about thinking of other people other than yourself. So it's like I said, being in the Kali Yuga is not an excuse to go to shit, to let your morals go to shit or your spiritual path or any of those things. It's about making decisions for your descendants that will come after you. So you have to keep going. Saturn can be cold as fuck, but I love Saturn because it stops your emotions from running away with themselves. It stops you being ruled by your emotions. So let's put things into perspective here with this full moon. So of course we have those Jupiter and Mars and Chiron all in Aries. So they're kind of a little bit volatile. You know, people have been a bit volatile recently. I've noticed that tempers, especially on the internet, because, you know, people can say whatever they want on the internet. It's like I always say, come and say it to my face instead of being a coward on the internet. People love to say all kinds of things, but they're usually nobodies with no lives. So people may be a little bit explosive. The moon in Sagittarius will seek freedom at all costs. If you have been in an oppressive situation, you've been bored, or something is just stifling, you may kind of take a break for freedom. That's something that's coming in very strongly here. You may question what you're doing because of the square to Neptune, but Saturn in Aquarius is going to help you kind of think it through. So let's go on to what it means for all of the signs individually. Like I said, listen to your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. So for Aries rising and Aries sun and moon, this is happening in your 9th house of travel. It can be also be about studying, learning, taking courses, and your beliefs. So the full moon will kind of highlight something so it can change. There will be some situation that is changing here. You may end something. So first of all, your contacts with foreign countries may end. You may decide to take off and travel. You may decide to embark on a kind of course of study. Maybe if you were studying, you realize it's not the right place for you and you need to move on to something else. So for Taurus, the full moon is happening in your 8th house. This will be a change in joint finances, money that you have with another person. It could be your spouse, business partner. It could also be an inheritance. So the full moon in this house can bring a lot of transformation very quickly. You know, it's like the snake shedding its skin. Taurus people do not like to do that. They like things to be the same because it's a fixed sign. So you're going to get some kind of unexpected change that comes along with this lunation. So for Gemini and Gemini rising, the full moon is happening in your 7th house. This can bring a change to your relationship. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the end of a relationship, not at all. It can be a change. You go from one cycle into another cycle. So it could be something like you take the relationship to the next step. It could be that you get engaged. It could be that you decide to have a child, or something quite big and important here. If you've been single, there also is the possibility that this is the end of your single period and you might meet someone. So Cancer, the full moon is happening in your 6th house. So you're going to be experiencing some changes to do with your health. If you've been struggling with health issues, fatigue, or whatever, it's quite possible that you will see the end of that over the next 2 weeks. You also may have some changes within your daily routine. I mean, I'm a Cancer and I'm off for the next 3 weeks, so my daily routines are going to be non-existent, but I'm hoping that I can also kind of break through some health issues that I've been having. So for Leo rising and Leo moon, the full moon is happening in your 5th house. There's going to be some changes connected to your kids. Maybe your kids are off for summer, you've got them all the time and they're at home. It's just going to be stuff like that. You could also have a new romance that starts. Maybe you've been feeling like you haven't been creative. You've been letting all of these energies, like you have no time to be creative, but during this full moon period, you'll be doing something that brings you a lot of joy and stimulates you in that way. You could also be starting up a new romance. So for Virgo rising and moon, this full moon is going to happen in your 4th house. There's going to be a change in your home. You may move home. You may put your home up for sale. You could also maybe switch homes. Maybe possibly someone else moves in with you. That's another thing with this kind of full moon. Or there's a change in some way. It doesn't have to be a huge drama. It is just the everyday life, the cycles that we go through. So for Libra, the full moon is happening in your 3rd house. That could be a change in your driving. Maybe you get a new car. There's going to be some change with neighbors, people that you kind of live in nearby to. Also, the way that you're thinking, you could be learning something different, learning to communicate in a different way. And you could also be experiencing some changes to do with your siblings. If you have brothers and sisters, you may have some change with them, some news, or just something else going on. So for Scorpio, the full moon is happening in your 2nd house. Your 2nd house is your finances, your resources, the money that you earn. So there's going to be a change here. It could be that you earn more money. It could be that you earn less money. I need to read your own personal chart to get the idea. It could also be that, just some change in the way that you get your money. Maybe you've been getting cash and then all of a sudden you start to get paid through your bank account, something along those lines. Sagittarius, the full moon is happening in your 1st house. So there is going to be a change to the way that you've been living your life for a long time. Your identity will change. You could also have a change in your physical body, but something probably quite positive is coming up here that is going to bring you a lot of stability. So Capricorn, the full moon is happening in your 12th house. Probably for the next few weeks, Capricorn, you're going to be feeling a little bit low in energy. You may need to kind of take some rest. After that rest, you will be feeling more energized and ready to tackle the world. You could also be getting some strange memories that pop into your mind from years ago. It's your subconscious speaking to you. Also dreams about the past. Your dreams are going to be strong and quite profound now, full of symbolism. So do pay attention to them. Now, Aquarius, the full moon is happening in your 11th house. There will be an ending or a change to do with friendships. People that you hang out with, any groups or associations, there's going to be an end there. It could be the end of a time that you've spent alone, or it could be a shift in the dynamics of your group of people that you hang out with. So lastly, for Pisces, the full moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is your career, your job, your public reputation. So you could have an ending there connected to a job. You might get a new job, you could get more responsibilities, or there's just going to be some big change within the way that you work. Now, it is a super moon. It will be a bit dramatic in terms of emotions, especially for the first few days, but after that, it will calm down. So what we really should be seeking in this full moon period is stuff that makes us happy. How do you feel joy? how do you fulfill that sense of adventure and lust for travel that you will have in your veins? The blood that you have that comes from your ancestors. They remember a time when you could just hop on a Viking ship and go to another country. You didn't have to get passports and ask some asshole, you know, if to take luggage on board, or that was real freedom. Of course, with it became a much bigger risk of death and harm, but they knew that they would be reincarnated again. And they knew that they would go and join the gods. So they didn't live in fear. They didn't let all of these people control them because they had a fear of death. That's what we're seeing in the modern world. People accept things that really impinge upon their freedoms because they have a fear of death. And the reason why they have that fear of death is because the afterlife that they have been, that people have taught them about from childhood actually doesn't exist. It's a false afterlife. So there is no big, you know, ugly God that's going to frigging put you in a fiery pit if you're going to be naughty or any of those things, or if you're not a coward quivering in fear and doing whatever this entity tells you to do. You know, there are many realms to the afterlife. So people are scared to die. And that's why we're in the Kali Yuga, because people are scared of everything. So what I'm saying is things are difficult. They will continue to be so. You have to find your own happiness and adventure. You have to find your own joy, because that is important. And you have to teach it to your children, because your descendants are going to be the ones that will hold your blood in their veins. And you don't want to give them that blood or fear or trauma that carries on through the DNA. So that's it really for today. If you'd like to become one of my students, you can do so. I'm taking bookings for next year. So a couple of my students have already gone on to become professional astrologers themselves. I've been studying astrology for over 20 years. I became a professional astrologer in 2013. So I will teach you one-on-one. The tuition is private. It's on Skype once or twice a week at a time that suits you. So let me know. You could also book a reading from me. Just go to FionaEdgar.com. But I do hope you're all well, guys. Sorry if it was a bit dark, some of it, but that's just the reality, and I'm not going to lie to you. So yeah, have fun. I love you all, and I'll be back again soon.